the previous video, we talked about how Roman Catholic culture supported the rise of mercenary armies, especially in the Dark Ages. In this video, we're going to talk about how, again, we see mercenary armies rising up in America, and again, we see that this is being done by Roman Catholics in our own nation. One need only look at the most powerful mercenary army in the United States at this time. The mercenary army I'm talking about is known as Blackwater. The head of Blackwater is a Roman Catholic named Erik Prince. Let's discuss Erik Prince's religious history. There has been some confusion concerning Prince's religious beginnings due to sloppy research. Some journalists like Jeremy Scahill have mistakenly reported that Erik Prince was Dutch Reformed. In other words, he's claiming that Erik Prince was a Dutch Calvinist before he converted to Roman Catholicism. Scahill falsely makes this claim that the Prince family based its beliefs on Calvinism in his book, Blackwater. This is simply not true. Erik Prince was never a Calvinist, nor was he ever a member of any Calvinist church. Jeremy Scahill carelessly tries to link Erik Prince to Albertus van Raalte. The Dutch immigrant Albertus van Raalte was a pastor in the Reformed Church in America during the 19th century. He was involved in the 1857 succession that led to the formation of the Christian Reformed churches, known here out as CRC. And Van Raalte also helped to found Hope College, which is also, of course, affiliated with the CRC. The CRC is a denomination which stopped professing the doctrines of Calvinism about 84 years ago. This, of course, was long before Erik Prince was even born. The CRC turned from the teachings of Calvinism during the 1924 Synod of Kalamazoo, where they published their notorious profession titled The 3 Points of Common Grace. At the Synod of Kalamazoo, the CRC abandoned the Calvinist teachings of God's absolute predestination of all things for the Roman Catholic teaching of human free will. This led to an immediate split. For those in the CRC who were still Calvinists, those in the minority left the CRC and formed the Protestant Reformed churches in America, the PRC. The PRC is a Dutch Calvinist denomination, while the CRC can only point to the fact that at one time, before 1924, it did profess the biblical doctrines of Calvinism. So, Erik Prince was never a Dutch Calvinist. He was never a member of a Dutch Calvinist church. Before he converted to Roman Catholicism, Prince was a member of the very liberal Christian Reformed churches. The fact that Erik Prince was in a church that taught free will and justification by faith and works, just as the Roman Catholics teach today, only goes to explain how easy it was for Prince to make the transition from the liberal Christian Reformed churches to the Roman Catholic Church. Now that we have corrected Jeremy Scahill's mistake, let's go ahead and look at some very excellent remarks that he makes in his book about Erik Prince's conversion to Roman Catholicism. Scahill writes, and I quote, "In 1992, he, as Erik Prince, became enthralled with the renegade presidential campaign of Pat Buchanan. Erik began coordinating Buchanan's campaign at Hillsdale, and Edgar, Erik's father, contributed to it," end quote. Blackwater, The Rise of the World's Most Powerful Mercenary Army, Chapter 1, page 13. Note here that Pat Buchanan is a devout Roman Catholic. No Calvinist would support a Roman Catholic for president. But let's look at another quote from Scahill's book. Scahill writes, and I quote, "Erik Prince adopted his father's behind-the-scenes demeanor, as well as his passion for right-wing religious causes, but with a twist. Erik is a Roman Catholic," said author Robert Young Pelton, who has had rare access to Prince. "A lot of people brand him in his father's religion, but he was converted to Roman Catholicism. Indeed, many of the executives who would later form the core of Prince's Blackwater empire are also Catholics. And when Prince's first wife Joan died, Catholic Mass was celebrated for her both near her hometown outside of Schenectady, New York, and near where the family lived in McLean, Virginia. In 1997, Lieutenant Erik Prince, U.S. Navy SEAL, blurbed a book called Christian Fatherhood, the 8 Commitments of St. Joseph Covenant Keepers, saying it provides men with the basic training they need to complete their mission. At the time, Prince himself had 2 young children. The book's author, Stephen Wood, is the founder of Family Life Center International, a Catholic apologist organization specializing in providing moral media taking a cue from his father's funding of right-wing evangelical Protestant causes. Prince became a major funder of extremist fringe Catholic organizations. In 1999, he contributed $25,000 to Catholic Answers, a San Diego-based Catholic evangelical organization founded by the Catholic fundamentalist Carl Keating. Keating dedicated his life to apologetics and defending Catholicism at all costs. The following year, Prince provided funding to the right-wing Catholic monthly magazine Crisis. He also gave generously to several Michigan churches, including $50,000 to the Holy Family Oratory, a Kalamazoo Catholic Church, and $100,000 to St. Isidore Catholic Church and School in Grand Rapids, Michigan, as well as Catholic churches in Virginia. End quote. Blackwater, Chapter 1, pages 15 through 16. The lengthy quote I just read from Skahil's book demonstrates just how committed the founder of America's most powerful mercenary army is to the spreading of Roman Catholicism. Did you notice that many of the top leaders in Blackwater are also Catholic? Skahil writes the following in the preface of his book. Quote, "Some Blackwater executives even boast of their membership in the Sovereign Military Order of Malta, a Christian militia formed in the 11th century before the First Crusades, with the mission of defending territories that the Crusaders had conquered from the Muslims. The order today boasts of being a sovereign subject of international law, with its own constitution, passports, stamps, and public institutions, and diplomatic relations with 94 countries. The outsourcing of U.S. military operations in Muslim countries and in secular societies to such neo-crusaders reinforces the greatest fears of many in the Arab world and other opponents of the administration's wars." End quote. Blackwater, preface, page number Roman numeral XXV1. It is evident that the Roman Catholic mercenary army backed by our own government and our own taxpayer money, one that is devoted to establishing the Pope's universal rule over the entire world, is a serious threat to our own religious freedom and civil liberties here at home.